One. Hi, guys. Welcome to my podcast, Let's Get Sincere, with your host, Amir. It's my cast project I'm doing for school. I'll be doing this over a series of 5 weeks. We're currently doing the third week, and I'm joined here by Mo,
What's up?
by Alex,
What up?
by Jorge. I guess Jorge's not there, so we're just gonna go to Nico. I'm
Jorge's
joined here by.
muted.
Oh, Jorge, you're muted,
What's
buddy.
up? What's up?
Okay, that's Nico. We're
Hello, I'm
joined here
Jorge.
by. Okay, thank you. We're joined by Kiana.
Hi everyone.
Okay, by Kimia.
Hi.
Okay, let's get this thing started. Today's topic is going to be about the corruption in government and how it has affected its people. Uh, Before we begin, um, can can you guys let's talk about let's explain first of all what corruption is or what we think it is, and yeah, let's start with that. So, what do you guys think corruption is to begin with?
You mean corruption or government corruption?
Yeah, government corruption, obviously.
I think government corruption is like when the people of government take a position or enforce a law um, with a personal agenda in mind,
Mm-hmm.
like hoping it reaches results that favors them, or like not having the good of the people in mind, but like
Mm-hmm.
that favors themselves, or like the group they're part of. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So you're
Exactly,
saying
like
that in
misusing their
okay.
power or
Mm-hmm.
position.
So you're saying abuse of power, right? With their personal agenda at mind, obviously.
Not necessarily abusive power, just
Mm-hmm.
any decision they make or any law they pass or choose to ignore that favors them or the group of society they belong to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they
It's
don't.
more in
It
their
can also be
favor
like
than the
it,
people. Yeah, okay.
it can
I
also.
see.
It doesn't have to be necessarily enforcing something. It can also be choosing to ignore something. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, basically dishonest behavior, but those in positions of power.
Mm-hmm. Do you care to a little elaborate on that? Like maybe get into a little bit of
Like
detail?
like like government officials would be an example, and
Mm-hmm.
then like them doing or giving or accepting bribes or inappropriate gifts, double dealing, under the table transactions are all just examples of political or governmental corruption.
Speaking on that note, why do you think you said bribery? Why do you think bribery is bad? Maybe the person doing the like giving the bribe actually wasn't guilty because, as we know, we can say the justice system can sometimes be unfair. But why is it bad? Why is bribery a reason for corruption? Can Because you obviously brought it up, so do you think you can maybe explain that or give your opinion on it at least?
Why bribery isn't good, or
Yeah. Why is it like considered a part of like government corruption in fact?
I mean, someone bribes to do something that is
Mm-hmm.
in their favor, in their own
Okay.
favor,
Mm-hmm.
and they bribe to make the process go faster, in an example, and obviously the normal procedure just takes time, or like it has to go through some proper governmental like proper governmental um it has to go through some procedure, and just by bribing it kind of over, it doesn't go through that procedure. It's not right.
Yeah, I
I think
guess.
bribing is bad is because it's not the correct way to do it. You know, to reach a goal, and
Mm-hmm.
it's unfair to the opposition. You know, whoever is opposing you, you're not giving them an equal chance.
Would you say bribing is
when you
corruption
bribe
though?
someone.
Sorry, what was that?
I don't think bribe. Would you say bribing is corruption? I don't
It's a
think it's
corrupt
part of
act.
corruption.
Bribe, to
Yeah,
That's an
bribe is
but
example.
corruption of governments isn't corruption of government isn't more like using the authority somebody has to their
if
own advantage.
if a
No, but like the
government
corruption is also like
accepts bribe,
them accepting the bribe.
exactly.
Then
It's
that's like a
corrupt
corrupt
government.
Yeah,
politician is
the
someone
accepting
who
the
does
bribe,
it just
but I don't
because they
think
were
the
bribed,
person
which is the
bribing.
corruption. The person
Yeah, yeah,
bribing isn't part of the isn't the corrupted one, but it's like they aid the
yeah. I
corruption
know, I
because they're
know.
the ones that are trying to bribe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay.
Honestly, my opinion is why bribery is bad is because uh, it makes laws seem bendable, whereas laws should be obeyed by everyone. Whereas if bribery is an option, then you can obviously break the law just because you can get out of it. That's my opinion. But the person doing the bribery isn't obviously the corrupt one. It's the system that's corrupted since they're they're able to accept that.
I mean, but it also depends like what it's being used for. Because I mean, bribery in itself doesn't have to be a bad thing, you know? It
So
could
you're
be for the
telling me
greater
it
good or something
depends
like
on the
that.
size of the crime? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying it depends on the purpose, the goal.
How can
So
bribery be
so
good?
so for example, some people might say that like the ends justify the means. And so if you look at bribery, for example, most of the bribery is negative because it's mostly like corporations or people that have a lot of money who are bribing government officials to push something that will aid their profit and
Mm-hmm.
will generally lead to some kind of like exploitation of others. But it
Yeah.
could also be used for the reverse, you know? It could be used, you could bribe somebody to employ something that's good, you know, to enact
It's
some policy
corrupt
that
regardless.
benefits
Can
because
you
it
not
would still
interrupt?
be exactly, it would still be corrupt, but it wouldn't be a bad thing then, would it?
I mean,
Honestly,
I guess.
can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because what I think is that bribery is obviously breaking the law, no matter what you're doing. But you're saying it could be used in good and bad.
Sure.
Like, okay, bad as obviously we all know it's things that are obviously illegal and they're trying to get out of it. What, like, in terms of good, like it being good, do you think you can explain that?
Yeah, because like it's relative. Bad is relative, good is relative. So like
Mm-hmm.
if you were to look at like for example in the States, a lot of the reasons why like for example so many presidents that were anti-guns
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do it is because not only like for example the president doesn't have all the power because it's a
Mm-hmm.
democracy and not a dictatorship and
Yeah.
shit like that, but
Mm-hmm.
um like for example the NRA in the
Okay.
States, which is like the I don't know what the hell it stands for, National like Rifle Association, I don't know, whatever it stands for.
Mm-hmm.
They will bribe government officials to not ban weapons and stuff like that, even though it's been proven that like more weapons doesn't mean it's safer. It's actually the opposite, because then you know more people have the means to rob and loot and kill because they can get their hands on guns, whereas normally they wouldn't be able to. So if there were like another corporation that were to bribe for the banning of guns and actually gave more money than the NRA, then politicians would be more incentivized of going with that than what the NRA is doing, you know? I'm not saying the
Mm-hmm.
NRA bribes, but I'm just making a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And like you said before, like good and bad is subjective. So for the people that are pro guns, the NRA are bribing them in a positive way,
Mm-hmm.
is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Because good and bad is subjective.
Obviously.
It's still
Like the thing
violating
is,
others'
oh, sorry, yeah.
rights anyway. Like, don't you think so? Like, the
That,
system is consisted of people who do this. Like, if okay, two people do this, it's gonna increase, and eventually the whole system will like be corrupted, I guess.
So you're saying this is a chain action that if it starts from one person, it's gonna go around? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, exactly. Because if someone does it, it's like someone understand and they're like excused, eventually people are gonna think that it's acceptable. It's not that serious when it is usually.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that that's the whole discussion why bribery is bad, obviously, because it undermines the laws that are placed that prohibits people from doing the things that are they're not allowed to do, obviously. Anyways, does anyone have any other opinions on why
I
bribery is
mean,
bad
we
or
also have to
how it's
look at
good?
like, I mean, we're talking about bribery specifically, but like if you look at bribery, like what really is it? In Ruby, like bribery in itself is just like, giving people something in return for something else, right? Generally like cash, right? Money,
Mm-hmm.
so that they enact something. But like I feel like, for example, if you looked at like a bail, posting bail isn't illegal. But isn't
Mm-hmm.
that, couldn't you say that, oh, that's kind of like a bribe to like not go to jail? You're
Yeah,
paying so that you don't go to jail. Couldn't that also be
exactly.
seen as like a bribe? Like I know
Uh,
that like since
Now
it's not illegal,
obviously,
it's not a
yeah, yeah,
bribe,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
but in essence,
Yeah,
Can
for
I
sure, for
can I,
sure.
can I say something?
Absolutely.
Can I say something?
What do you got, man?
I think there's something that we're not really talking about. It's like, how do you really define bribery? Because you don't have to specific, like Nico said, you don't have to. I don't know if Nico said this, but you don't have to specifically like it. What we're thinking, what the stereotypical thing that comes to mind is like you give a gift or you give like money, or and then this person exchanges that for a certain favor. But you can also exchange favors for favors. That can also be considered bribery. And if you look at
Absolutely.
that,
Mm-hmm.
then like all politicians are bribed with each other because that's how politics work, is you exchange favors for favors. Even Democrats do that. It's not just Republicans. So like there's not really a line, that a way that you can define like, okay, this is bribery and this isn't, because maybe it is bribery, you just don't see it as bribery as when you're doing it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
well,
Yeah.
I think the difference is what I had kind of mentioned earlier is that like bribery is when it's illegal. I would say it's the persuasion, using some kind of means, but when it's illegal, when it's not
It's the
actually allowed.
Actually,
And
I disagree
I,
with Nico here. With all due respect, like you're bound to your opinion, obviously, but I disagree with it because I think bribery is not where it's illegal, but where like something's been given or taken in order to do an action. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like it's not a matter of it being illegal. Like it could also be legal, but
okay, but then bribery would be any transaction ever. Then me going to the store and buying something would be bribery because I'm bribing
nah.
the cashier to give me that stuff with money. Then that would be a
If,
bribe as well.
No, because you're not exchanging anything
Yeah, I
back.
am. I'm
You're
getting money for my
expecting.
groceries. I'm paying money for my
No,
groceries, and I'm
no,
bribing the
that's just
cashier to let me leave the
no. That's
store with my
no,
groceries.
it's
because
I'm pretty sure
bribery.
bribery is illegal.
No,
it's
because
It's
that's
bri
bribery
That's
when
why I'm
it's
saying.
It's
That's why I'm
illegal.
saying it's when
that's
it's illegal, because that's the difference.
That's
Because if we want to
it's
say that it's
exactly.
bad, then you have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah,
Then you have to
buying
say that
something
it's
is
only
not the
when
same
it's
as
illegal.
bribery.
It
But
doesn't have to
bribery
be
is
money,
like,
but
wait,
go on,
what was
sorry.
that, Kenna? No, no, go ahead. What was that?
yeah, yeah.
So
You
it's like when you're asking, it's not just general exchange. It's when you're asking, like you're giving something because you're asking for more than you should, from more than like others. That means they're violating others' rights.
Mm-hmm.
That's why politics is. Everyone says that it's a dirty game.
Oh, okay.
it's more about the under the table transactions that then would count as
Exactly.
bribery.
Actually, speaking of under the table
But
actions, we can kind of
mo-
get past bribery. What is that, Jorge? You got something to say?
yeah, no, don't worry. Don't worry.
Jorge,
Yeah,
stop writing in the chat. Just say it in the, like. Why are you
yeah.
writing things in the?
If you have your
What I'm
opinion,
writing in the
just
chat is
say
a
it here.
different thing, man.
No, that's good. That's good then. Since we're kind of past bribery, so let's do a small recap of what we think bribery is. Basically, exchanging favors, possessions, or like money in terms of doing an illegal action is what we think as bribery, and that it happens in a high level in the governments, and that's what's affecting people. another thing that I think is really relevant to government corruption is people avoiding taxes. Um, like that could be that is one of the causes for like political and governmental like corruption, obviously. Uh, how do you think people avoid taxes, and do you think they do it on purpose, or is it just that because most people don't know how to do their taxes? So do you think they're doing it on purpose? Like, because you often hear this, people say that, oh, it's not that I'm trying to avoid taxes, it's really I don't know how to do my taxes. Do you think that's the case, or no, people are avoiding their tax?
I mean,
No, I
when
think
it
people
when
are
it when
aware
it's
when they are
when it's
avoiding
large
taxes.
scale, it's definitely avoiding, because if you just don't know how to do them, then
Mm-hmm.
you'll either pay something but not enough, and then the IRS will come and tell you,
Yeah,
and then you'll be like, oh, my bad, I didn't know how to. So like you can just get an
I'm pretty
accountant
sure
or
there's a
something.
name for
Like
that.
there are people that can tell you how to do your taxes and stuff like that and help you do them.
Do you think
But when
doing
you like do it
taxes
over
is taught in
prolonged,
school? Like, are you taught how to do taxes in school? Like, I'm pretty sure
No,
nah,
everyone's had a case of like studying economy in school, right? Like, are you taught how to do like taxes? Like, do you know what taxes are?
no,
Or do you just know
you
what they
should,
do?
but you're
I
not.
mean,
Not
we know what they are, but like,
we
this is
don't know
something that
how
like,
to.
your parents will teach you, because they're not relevant until you have to pay it yourself, until you have like, your own job and like your own apartment or house or whatever, and like you actually have taxes to pay that aren't like deducted automatically and stuff. So like, like I have a job, but what I get isn't like, they don't give you your brutto, they give you your netto, so you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
pay the taxes yourself. It's automatically paid.
Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
You
we
should
could
learn.
actually relate
That's
this
actually a good.
with what
That's a good topic.
we
Topic
could
idea for.
actually.
Fuck.
Okay, so
We could
wait,
actually relate this with.
I think
right?
Jorge has something to say.
Dude, Jorge, say it.
Nah.
Yeah,
Hey,
just say it,
man.
bro.
I was going to say that we could actually relate this with what we were talking before, like the money that you accept in a bribery, you're not later going to declare it, and that's
Oh,
avoiding taxes.
oh, so you're
That's
saying
what's wrong.
another
The thing,
problem is that you don't have to declare cash if you
No, I
receive
don't say
cash.
you don't have to, but but if you're, how do you declare a bribery?
well, I
You know,
mean,
You
you're not
don't
going to
no,
say
you
I
declare.
can,
received this
if it's
money
a
from a
bribery, you can
guy.
declare it, because in your tax return and stuff like that, you don't have to like give a description. Like it could just be a gift.
Yes,
Like
you
I'm
That
have
would be
to.
allowed to
money
give,
No, you
laundering.
have to.
like if I
That would
want
be
to, I can
money
give Jorge
laundering.
$1,000, and in his tax return, it doesn't have to
Yeah,
say
but a
what I gave him
thousand
a
dollars
thousand
is not
dollars
the
for.
bribery they make,
It can
man.
just say as a
If
gift, and that's fine, you know.
okay, but
On that note, actually,
imagine
mm-hmm.
That's
What do
like
you
not
think?
a
that's
big
not like
company
avoiding
gives
taxes
like
and stuff.
no,
You
it
just have to
is.
make
Imagine
sure
a
that
big
it's
company gives
not
like
like from your job or whatever. Because depending, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but depending on like your income and stuff, you'll be in different tax brackets and have to pay different amounts of tax. So
Mhm.
if you show that it's not like taxable, then you're exempt from taxes on it. I'm not sure how exactly that works, but like some things you don't have to pay taxes on.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
something
yeah, I
similar
know
to
what you
that.
mean,
So
but
you're
I'm pretty sure you
suggesting
wouldn't
that
declare.
declaring it on a larger scale obviously is better because you could not do it at all because it doesn't apply to you, like depending on the case, obviously, right?
No, you have to declare it either way, because like they can look at your bank account and see
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it just popped up, and if you don't have any taxes, that raises suspicion, which is why you should declare it, but you don't have to pay tax on it,
Mm-hmm.
That's
Do
the
you
difference.
think
And
there
also like
is
some
Yeah,
like
things about like
but I'm pretty sure people wouldn't declare a money from a bribery man, unless if it's like in cash and it's like
if it's in cash, then you
20,000.
don't have to
Imagine it's
declare it,
like
'cause then it doesn't pop up
yes, you
anymore.
have to. Yeah, but you're
If it's in
using money
cash,
you
how's
have
it gonna
no.
know you have it? How are you gonna
yeah,
pay
They
taxes
obviously
would.
on
that
cash?
that
It's
honestly
like if
that
you
could be
$5,
seen
But
as a
that's
how are
the
you gonna
fraud,
point.
make,
yeah.
how are you gonna pay
But
taxes
that's
on
the
that?
point. That's like in when you work and they pay you in cash. You're not declaring that money, but you should. You're avoiding taxes if you don't. That's how it works.
Oh, like that. That's what you mean. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
see.
No, I mean that
Then,
happen. I guess that happens in bravery too. If you accept $50,000 or euros or
but that I
whatever,
don't think you have to
and you
tax
don't
that. That's the
declare it,
thing.
That's a tax
I don't-
evasion.
I
You're not
don't-
declaring money. You're not
Hold up,
declaring money
I'm
that
gonna
you
look it up.
received.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Okay.
they don't tax you on like your whole like net worth, you know? I feel like, let me see, what?
It
They
depends.
tax you on your income. They
It
tax you on your
depends how
income.
you get the money, you know. If you get it cash, you don't have to hand it into the government. You don't have to announce that. But if you get it through like and PayPal, I'm not sure. But if you get it through like another type of currency, you do have to announce that. It also depends
No,
on that.
But cash you have to announce. Like
No.
if you work in cash, yeah. What do you mean no? You think the
What
guy
do
who
you do?
works like do you think taxi drivers don't declare their money? Of course they do.
No,
They
bro,
pay
taxi
taxes on the
drivers.
money.
My guy, you know the money that you give to the taxi driver doesn't go to the taxi driver directly. You know that, right?
Okay, bad example. I
That's
meant
why you don't have. That's why you don't have to.
another
That's
thing.
why listen, strippers, the money that they get, they don't declare it to the
No. Yes,
tips that you
the
get
money
working
that they
at the
get for the tips is different because
Tips is
the
something different.
tips
money
is
that you get
something
cash. You don't have
completely
to.
different. Yes, you do.
Okay.
Like if imagine you're the owner of a restaurant and you get
Mhm.
all that money in cash, the money
Okay.
that they give you in cash, you don't declare it.
Yeah, that's why right
Yes.
now a lot of restaurants are serving cash only because they don't want. They get so much less orders that the
No,
ones
you
they
do
get,
declare
they would
it.
have to give it to the. Bro, I know a government owner. She tells me this.
Well,
A
No,
restaurant.
maybe
actually,
she's
I think I
avoiding
actually,
think
taxes.
the
Maybe we
problem
shouldn't
here
be
is
talking
I
about it.
think the problem here is that we all come back from different backgrounds and different governmental
no,
structures,
actually, what
and we're
Alex
all
is
talking
saying,
about.
I totally agree with. Jorge, what you're also saying, most jobs where you, what's it called? You receive cash, you obviously have to declare it. But on terms of restaurants that we're talking about, Alex is right. Restaurants that don't do like credit card,
Are you
they
telling me?
don't technically have to declare it. Because I know this
Yes, they
because
do.
I
It's
no
not
listen
legal,
no
but
no
that's what they're doing.
legally they have to, okay.
Legally,
But
they
because
have to. Okay, exactly.
yeah,
They are avoiding taxes
no,
then. Taxes
that's what
then.
I'm
You're
Yeah.
saying.
correct.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So
Legally they
Yeah.
have
that was
to.
my point.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
agree
but there's
with you.
I looked it up, and you
That,
don't need to pay tax on inheritances and money gifts. So if someone gifts you money, you don't need to pay
yeah, it's a
tax
gift.
on it,
But
as
if you're
far as I know. Which is why I'm saying for a bribery, it could count as some kind of money gift, so you wouldn't have to tax that, but you have to tax income and stuff like that. So obviously, if you're working at a restaurant
okay,
or you own a restaurant and you don't accept um credit card, you still have to pay tax on that anyways, because it still has to come up in your
yeah,
otherwise it's tax fraud. You know, it's not
yeah,
just avoiding tax fraud, and you will go to jail for that. Because then
and
it's
then
just
the
saying you're just getting money, and you're
that's what I
saying, oh
meant.
yeah, no, my restaurant, I don't get any money from that. Or if you
Yeah,
fake the
yeah.
numbers
Obviously
and
they
say
will
you get less
declare
than
their
you really
income
do, that is
because
also
they should
And
have
if you
some
start
sort of
paying
income for
stuff
the
and they
company to like, or for the restaurant to continue running. I don't disagree with that, but they obviously don't declare the full amount they make because they get cash.
but obviously no. If you obviously don't declare it if you want to not pay taxes on it. But if you are legal, you should declare everything.
And do you think the fact that it's upon yourself to declare how much money you got when you receive in cash a flaw in the IRS system or just in any like what's it called taxing part of the government? Because this often happens in a lot of places where credit cards are obviously a thing. Do you think that since it's based upon yourself to declare how much money you have, it's a flaw?
I
no,
mean,
because
Just people have to be honest.
how
they're
like
just assuming people uh, are
like
going to be honest, you know?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, also like whatever you do, like they're in connection with your banks and stuff. Like it's really difficult to like get away with it if you just don't declare some stuff. You know, like it's difficult. Like you can do it, but it's risky because they do like check your status, your bank account status, stuff like that. Like you obviously they know where you work and like what your salary is meant to be,
Mm-hmm.
and so they'll tax, income tax and all that stuff. But like it is like regulated or monitored, but
Okay.
it would be like a lot of work for them to do your taxes for you, to do everyone's taxes for them.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Like
yeah,
if
given
that
the
if that
great
gets rid of
population
tax, sure,
everywhere.
but like then they have to monitor a whole lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know like how that would
Yeah,
work,
they
if
know,
it's
but another
possible
they
or not.
monitor like also based on the expenses you have.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they check. If they see you have I don't know, 10,000 euros of expenses in 1 month, and that you only won, like you only have in your account 2,000 euros, they are going to say,
Mm-hmm.
where did this
Well,
10,
that's what a
12?
credit card is. You
Yeah, yeah,
can do that
exactly.
with a credit card, and then you
Yeah,
just have
yeah, no,
8,000
obviously.
debt.
Uh,
Someone disconnected. So
yeah, I think Kiana just got disconnected because of her internet. Yeah, she's back though.
yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, the government expects you to do it on your own, and I get that they expect you to be honest. But do you think obviously tax invasion is a thing, so people are clearly not honest. Do you have any like ideas on how you can make the system a little less flawless or more justifiable, where like you could still be monitoring people, but like on a smaller scale, where it doesn't obviously affect them much. You know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, it doesn't really affect people much, I feel like. I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously this conversation would be way different if we're all in our, 20s, late 20s, and we actually have been filing our own taxes and shit and actually know what
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's mostly like hypothetical. But
Yeah,
I feel like,
obviously. These are just
I feel like people
hypothetical.
don't complain about like how much work it is to do taxes. They just complain about how much the tax is.
Mm-hmm.
Because like for example here
They also complain about how much
it's
work it
like
is.
almost I think here it's almost
Especially
50%.
Germany.
It's like 40 something percent or something like that
Oh
that's
wow.
taxed.
Off your income, right?
Yeah, off your total income.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
there's I don't know what it is in English, but I just know that in German you say brutto and netto. And so
Mm-hmm.
brutto would be your total
Yeah,
income, so like what you
brute and
make
net, I think.
for like your hourly salary and like what it would be compared to like the hours that you worked and overtime and all that stuff. But then netto is what you actually get after taxes.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow, 40%. That's huge. Mm.
I don't know. I'll look it up. What tax?
Mm.
Podcasts are
Um.
not a subject of somebody looking up stuff.
I'll look it up.
Okay, while you do that,
German
we can try to move on with this.
Well, what if we go
Pod.
back to the host? What if we go back to the government, more to the government, and we focus on another topic?
Yeah. We already talked about tax, and obviously, most people, as we said, most people don't know how to do their taxes because we talked about how it's not
Did we
taught in
say that?
school. Yeah, because, okay, Jorge, do you know how to do your
I'm
taxes?
kidding.
Clearly not, because you're not taught in school, are
I
you?
mean,
Okay, real quick. Tax rate is 42%
Oh,
to
wow.
income above 56,000
Oh,
a
wow.
year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Still a lot. Still a lot.
that's a decent amount. So that's like, your average job, I'd say. Average office job and stuff like that, right? I feel like.
Mm-hmm. So, wow. So it would kind of, I'm not saying it's justifiable or it's understandable, but I kind of get why people would do tax invasion, given that, okay, let's say you're making 100K a year. So, what, you only get 58,000 of it because the rest is the government's, obviously. Which does
But
seem unfair, but I'm not saying you should be doing it, but obviously
I
you
mean,
should.
you could not pay taxes in a legal way.
No, there's no way
Still.
you cannot pay
no.
taxes. That's
Yeah,
illegal.
obviously.
That is the point of
What?
Like
this whole
companies,
What's
convo.
that? What's
big
that? What's that? What's that?
companies. That's what they do. Big companies, Apple, and all other big companies, this is what
Oh
they
yeah,
do.
that's true. They moved to areas where it's low taxes.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
Yeah, but
basically,
that
you
you are
that
don't
you're
pay half.
still
ban
paying taxes, but you're paying
um
less taxes.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. You
like there's
obviously pay
No, but
ways
less
I mean,
there's
taxes.
even
ways
some
like
countries,
there's
even
And
different
it's
some
and
loopholes.
it's
countries,
and it's and it's and I'm pretty sure it's also illegal if
it's
you're
not
not
Yeah.
living
illegal.
there,
It's not.
putting your
No,
money
no.
there.
First, it's not
I'm pretty sure
illegal.
it's illegal, man.
No, no. Second, the country will like actually be like, okay, you come to our country, bring everything in our country, and you don't even have to pay taxes.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
but
that's
if
a
you
What?
live
different
in,
case. No, that's a
What?
different
What?
case. That
That makes no
no, no,
sense.
no, that's a
Mo,
different
It
case.
does
but what
because
you're
they
talking
just
about
bring
there,
so much to the country.
No, listen.
What if
That
they
that
don't pay taxes?
if you are not
fact.
living in that
No, no, if they
country,
bring their country, if
no,
they
but
bring their
Mo,
company,
Yeah, but if
Listen.
they
Mo,
A
don't pay taxes,
company, a
then
big
what does the
company
country
moving
gain?
to
The country
exactly.
doesn't
it's
gain
gaining
anything if they don't pay taxes there.
Listen, it's gaining
employment.
labor. Like I know what you're saying. It's obviously gaining labor, more jobs, but
Exactly,
that's not how it works. They
exactly.
still have to pay taxes. It's obviously they're gonna work out some deal to make it lower, but it's impossible for a country to just go like, no, this company can work here without paying
yeah,
taxes. But
Okay,
because
so
that's how the government
and
makes
a
and
money.
and also
The
what you said
government
about
cannot just
move.
go like we don't get money from people now, because that's how most
Yeah,
of the money
exactly.
in the government is made. It's majority
what
taxes and then other sources of income.
they made a new law. I don't know when it was. I don't know. I heard something like it was during Trump's presidency that they
Mm-hmm.
made this law, but I'm not sure. I just know that it exists, at least in the
Mm-hmm.
States, where you can any loss that you made over the total year. So like
Mm-hmm.
if your expenses were larger than your income,
Mm-hmm.
can be tracked back 3 years or forward 10 years.
Oh
So what
wow.
that means is if you lost more than you gained in a year, I think this
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is only for companies or if it's also for the individual,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't have to pay tax on it because it's a net loss.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say you had a net loss of 10,000 in one year,
Mm-hmm.
and then next year you had a gain, like a net profit of 2,000, you
Mm-hmm.
still have to pay taxes on that because net you still have 8,000 loss in those two
Okay.
years.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can track it back 3 years and forward 10 years. Which means if 2 years ago you had a net gain of 3,000, whatever
Mm-hmm.
tax you paid on that, you would get back, and you would still have your net of whatever it was
Okay.
of your loss.
That that
So
that
that's one
that
way that
actually does
like
sound
so
kind of
that's how
fair.
like Trump, for example, paid so little tax. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how. I'm not sure, but
Or
because like
he
for
was
example,
doing tax fraud. No one knows.
if I were to give like Jorge like 30,000 bucks in
Mm-hmm.
exchange for like something, and then like I say, oh, you know what? I don't think Jorge is going to be able to pay me back, so I write it off as a loss. That's 30,000
Oh,
loss, right?
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
And then if I don't make that back, oh shit, I have 30,000 loss on my hands, and he's not going to pay me back. I don't think he ever will. I can just deduct that from whatever my incomes are, my gain is, and then maybe I
But
don't have to
don't
pay
you
tax
have
on that.
to have like a proof for that?
Of course, because you can just declare it though. You can just declare like why you gave him that money, like if it was in
Mhm.
exchange for something that you never got, or if it was a loan and you just don't think he'll be able to pay you back.
But if they find out you lying, I guess
Why would you
they
lie?
will.
No, no, you actually
No,
gave
no.
him
What he's
30,000.
saying is legal. Like what he's saying is
Yeah, yeah, I
legal. You
know. But
declare it to the
imagine you,
government. Oh, that you
but
lie
that's
about the loss and gain.
yeah. Imagine
Oh.
you're lying about the loss. I guess
Yeah,
they
if you
will.
lie about the loss and gain, that's something else, because that's then again tax
But
fraud. But if you,
I guess
if I
that's
ask,
what
if
people
I
do
actually
to
give
for
you
tax fraud, right?
30,000 and then I just
Yeah.
say I don't think he's gonna be able to give it back, because then the thing is, then Jorge can give those 30,000 to somebody else and be like, I don't think they're gonna give it back to me either, and then he won't have to pay tax on that either.
Mm-hmm.
And so like
But
that's what like rich ass people might do, or
Fair enough.
companies might do. Like they'll do that with each other, and then they both don't have to pay taxes, and they just basically just like
yeah,
just
but they are
move
not
money
going to
around.
give. But they are not going to give the money as a present, to all the
No, 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 it's
companies
not a present. It's
between
a
each
loan.
other.
It's a loan. It's a loan, but you can write off the loan as a loss, as in like you can say,
Yeah,
I don't
you're
think
right
he's
as
gonna
loss,
pay
but
me back.
do you think the first person who loaned the money doesn't want it back? Yes, of course he will want it back.
No, yeah, he wants it back, but you can say that like I don't think he'll be able to pay me back. Like if I give you like $1 million and I don't think you'll
Yeah.
ever be able to pay me $1 million back, then I can write it off as a loss.
Yeah, you
That's
can
what the
write
law
it off
says,
as loss, but do you think
which means that you don't have
I
to pay me
won't
back
be
anymore.
asking it for you?
Then you don't have to pay me back anymore because I wrote it off as a loss. You don't
Hmm.
have to pay me back,
But
and
then you're still
I don't
losing
have to pay
money.
tax on it.
Why
Then I have
wouldn't do
1
that?
million loss.
But
That's
why
why I
would
would
you
do
do
that.
that? Why would
Hey,
you
hey,
do
hey!
that
Look,
instead of
look.
paying
We
tax?
don't, we don't have to,
It's
we don't have to
bribery.
really, we don't really
That's
have
not
to get into
bribery.
detail with this. These are all hypothetical. We don't have to like really
Yeah, that's my
go in depth
understanding of
with
it. I'm
them.
not sure if that's 100% accurate because it's just what I've heard and what I've been
I
told.
mean, it does make sense given that there were certain like recent rumors that Trump avoided taxes with a
He probably
system that
did.
wasn't illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't
There's
obviously
a difference
declared to the
between
public
avoiding them.
because he's the U.S. president, but he did do something, and I kind of agree the system that you're saying. I heard about it before. It sounds good. And it's legal, so if you had lost, then declare it and go ahead. Don't pay taxes anymore until you make back the money you lost. Moving on. We talked about what tax invasion was. But we didn't really talk about what's it called? The other parts of uh government corruption. Obviously, we talked about bribery being one of them, tax invasion being one of them. Um, but we didn't really talk about fraud, like in terms of we can and fraud. I mean, let's say electoral fraud. Like we can look at the recent U.S. presidential election, and not just that. We can also look back into it other times where there has allegedly been fraud taking place. What do you know what fraud is? Like,
What type
why
of fraud?
did they say, like, electoral fraud in this case? Obviously, we're talking about presidential elections, so, like, what do you think
Okay.
So
Is
presidential?
is electoral fraud like only for presidential elections?
it's just
Or
in elections. That's why it's electoral fraud.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
On only
There
U.S.
can be fraud
elections,
in
right?
any.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I
they
Yeah.
mean,
only
like
do it electrical.
that's
Not
their
necessarily,
allegation,
not
but like it could
necessarily.
be in any
Yeah,
election.
it could be any.
Obviously, there needs
We
to
can talk
be an
about
election to do
Russia,
electoral
where they've
fraud.
been having the same president for like the past 10 years, or any other country in general, but we can look at the most recent one. And the one that really broke out on the internet, which is the electoral fraud, in the U.S. elections. So, yeah, what do you guys think it means? Oh, like, what do they mean when they say electoral fraud?
I mean, the most recent one wasn't really electoral fraud. It was more fraud claims of President Trump.
Well, yeah, it's alleged electoral fraud.
Yeah,
So
that's why I
he's
said
saying there
allegedly,
was,
so it
but
may or may
they
not
haven't proved.
be. Yeah, exactly, because they couldn't prove anything.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually kind of electoral fraud from Trump or attempted electoral fraud from Trump,
Yeah.
Hey,
like
let's not get into
he's trying
that.
to prove that there was.
Let's talk about what electoral fraud really is and how it really affects the outcome. Is it from inside or is like are people actually committing that shit? What
I
do you
mean,
guys
it can
think?
even be
Uh,
from like other countries, like with the 2014 election, US election, and
Mm-hmm.
how Russia like basically controlled Facebook, the
Okay.
there
advertisements
was
and all.
no 2016 election.
2016, yeah, my bad.
Yeah. 2016.
Yeah, okay, so like that's kind of I'm not sure if that counts as electoral fraud or if that's just like propaganda. Because that's like they were putting like pro Trump stuff on Facebook, right? That was my understanding of it. Where the more people saw it and were um
Attracted.
more likely to vote for Trump versus
Well, if we were
Hillary
to
Clinton.
connect the
Hillary.
lines, we could just say that it's propaganda to the point where people could be convinced to commit fraud. Obviously, they're not persuading you to commit
Well,
fraud.
that's not committing fraud though. Like if that's just to change what people vote. Electoral
That's just
fraud, at least my understanding, is like to not it's like rigging the election so that people that voted for something else, their votes count for like the opposite party. So
Mm-hmm.
like for example, like what Trump was doing where he wanted to stop the mail-in ballots. So
Mhm.
people that were
Yeah, that
voting
would
from
be
abroad,
electoral.
because most of the mail-in ballots are Democratic ballots.
Mhm.
So that most of them went to Biden this time around.
Mhm.
And so if you were to stop those, then a lot of those, which were like, I don't know, 70%, let's just say, Democrat,
Mhm.
wouldn't go to Democrats because they wouldn't be counted. And then, that would be fraud because then you're just not allowing certain votes, Some stuff counts as fraud, other stuff they have laws that allow you to do it. So like there were stations I heard in like Houston, I think, which is in Texas. There was like stations where you can, because like there's always like polling stations, like where you vote, you go in to vote.
Yeah,
But because of
yeah.
Corona, some people didn't want to go into that place to vote, and like some politicians were saying, "Oh, it's not safe, don't do it," Or some
Mhm.
people just didn't feel safe doing it, and so they had other places where you could just drop your vote in, like in the middle of the street. You could just drop your vote, and then that's that. And
Mhm.
for the entire, I think, city of Houston, they had one. They had one because they
Okay.
just didn't want more. Because they just
Mhm.
didn't want people to do it, So they just had one. That's it. And you're allowed to do that because they're like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Mm.
You have to run it by some organization or whatever. I'm not sure. And they allowed it. They allowed it to just have one. So
Wow.
that's not fraud, but that definitely has some kind of result in the amount of people that vote.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Actually, on that note, Alex, what do you think about the electoral fraud that we're just talking about?
I agree with what Nico said. I mean, it's obvious that um, the reason why they didn't want the votes, the ballot votes to count is because most of them were Democrats, because of the pandemic, they were the ones that took it more seriously. So they didn't want to join in crowded places like Republicans.
Oh wow.
And what the hell
Well,
was that? Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree with what my opinion has been said. So
mhm.
I have nothing.
Thank you for that. Okay. On that note, we have a new person in the chat. We got audio. Uh, can you say hi? I guess not. No, I'm just kidding. Audio, please
Welcome.
say hi. Okay. He said he can't talk because he can't talk right now, I guess. Okay. Guess we're moving on from the electoral fraud. Uh, okay. We're moving on from that. We will talk about
Okay.
another. Yeah, we're moving on because he currently can't talk. I am gonna talk about another topic, which is drug trafficking.
Quick question, Amir.
Yes, sir.
Um, how long aren't we nearing the end of the first broadcast? Or the first
We
session?
we have another like almost 9 minutes to go.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we have 9 minutes till the end of this podcast. Actually, on that note, that's a good idea. Guess we won't be looking into any more corruption topics, and we're gonna be looking for solutions for them. Uh, I guess we did that, so we can look into one more topic and a solution for it. Okay, drug trafficking. We all know what
Mhm.
drug trafficking is. Obviously, drugs, we have different type of them. Obviously, by drug trafficking, I mean drugs that are illegal, obviously. Uh, it's been a problem for a long time now because governments cannot tax that, and it's uncontrollable.
I don't.
Because okay, the thing is, people still use drugs, like in different
You mean like
scenarios.
like pharmaceutical drugs or like illegal drugs? What type of drugs do you mean?
Illegal drugs, obviously. The one of the main reasons why
I don't know
drugs
if
are,
taxing is exactly the problem with it, but okay.
I think it is. Honestly, I think the reason why drug trafficking is a thing is because governments cannot tax that. Like,
Yes,
I think
if it was legal, they could.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
The
not
thing
the
is, they
point.
can't control the amount of people that produce it and spread it around. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that drug trafficking is a thing? Because just because governments cannot tax it, or is it
I
because of
mean,
other things?
What's gonna do
I think
with
it's.
governments taxing the drugs? I don't get
Because
it.
look at it like this. Let's talk about marijuana. Okay, marijuana was
Okay.
illegal until like a few years ago. Let's say like 3 years ago.
It's
It was
still
it was
illegal in some
Or is
places.
no
Yeah,
in
it's
some
still
places.
illegal.
No,
hypothetical?
I agree. Let's talk about
Is this
um
hypothetical or
this is hypothetical. I'm not talking about
okay,
anywhere
okay, okay, okay.
specific. We're just talking about marijuana
Yeah, yeah.
was
Then
illegal
continue,
until
continue.
yeah, it was illegal until a few years ago, right? Let's say like it doesn't matter where. Let's just say
Yeah.
right now it's legal everywhere, but it was illegal a
Okay.
few years ago, right?
Okay.
What the drug is still the same. Like marijuana hasn't changed over time, am I right? People, it's the same
It
plant.
has,
It keeps
No,
It's
no, no.
probably
Like
better
the
now, no?
in its essence.
no.
Yeah, I understand.
Like not that I know.
Okay. Nice.
Oh yeah, me neither. I have no idea what's going. What is that?
I don't
What
even
is
know what I'm
I
marijuana?
just
talking
think
about.
I
I'm
just
reading off
think it's
Google.
been
Okay,
better
people
like
chill.
over the years.
Yeah, yeah. Mo has been using for a long time.
Not
So
experience.
No,
if he
not that I
says
know.
it hasn't changed, then that's probably
Come on, if
No,
you're
that's
no,
not
probably
using the
valid.
not that I
devil's
know.
lettuce, I don't know what you're doing. Anyways, let's get past this.
Random
What I'm
bunch.
saying is, over time, it has even become better, right? That's what you guys are saying. So more reasons to make it illegal, right? But why
What?
is it that
Why?
it's
No,
No,
becoming
because
Wait,
no.
what?
no.
You know the
listen
advanced
listen what
stages
I'm
of
in
Explain,
weed?
explain,
terms
explain.
wait guys
If you,
let me explain this. Okay, this is a drug that we're talking about, right? Marijuana here,
Uh,
right?
okay, yeah.
Now it in terms of quality it has even become better.
What do you,
So
like?
what
Stronger.
How
He means
so?
what
Like,
stronger. He means
what do you
stronger.
mean?
It has a stronger effect. That's what he
yeah,
means by that.
stronger, exactly, thank you,
It
stronger
doesn't have
effects,
a
right?
stronger effect. Or what are you saying?
It does. It
I
does.
I wouldn't
It
know.
does.
I'm just saying, like, I have no idea.
I heard that.
Yeah,
This is just
just
what you've
assuming.
read.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's this article that I read recently on marijuana. But what I'm saying is, it has stronger effects now, right? So more
Hmm.
reasons to make it illegal because it's a drug, right? Why is it becoming legal then?
Okay.
It is
Okay.
still a drug.
Money
It
talks.
has
Yes.
high
Yeah. Okay.
THC,
But look,
high
a
CBD.
drug doesn't mean it's a bad thing. All right. So first of all, right? People have negative connotation to like drugs, but like what you
Coffee is
get,
a
like
drug.
like prescriptions are drugs as well. They're called prescription drugs, but you don't have a negative connotation to like insulin, but it's also a drug. Like it's the same, right? It's just a different effect. It's just because people want you to believe it's a bad thing, you know.
I
But
mean,
like
I
the
mean,
reason why it's
there's
been
some
But
drugs
what
banned,
you
We have
that are
good
said,
really bad
drugs
like
for
and
you.
bad
the
drugs.
reason why
okay,
it's been banned isn't
prescription drugs.
because smoking is unhealthy, It's like otherwise cigarettes would be illegal,
Okay,
you
so
know.
now we're 3 years into the
I
future.
disagree.
We're
I
looking at
disagree.
it
I
now.
disagree. Let me say
Exactly, I
something.
disagree too. Yeah, go ahead. I disagree
I
too.
think the reason why it was originally banned, it's because it alters your state of mind. It doesn't keep
Exactly.
you sober. So, but then people are realizing now, you know what I'm saying? Because alcohol does the same, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So what they're
Mm-hmm.
realizing is that, like, okay, in moderation, you know, this plant is not necessarily harmful. So if we like legalize it, first we get money from it as a government because of
You
taxing, like you
make
said
people
before.
safer.
Second, we are controlling how much of it there is in the market.
Exactly. That's the
So
point I wanted to mention. In this way, they can
thank you.
control it much better.
I would
Exactly.
like to
This
They will
was
have
what I was
information on
trying to
every
initially
step.
say.
interrupt me. Interrupt me. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, no,
Go
no,
on.
no, no. If you think you say it better than I do, whatever. I don't know.
No, what
As I
I'm
was
saying
saying,
is I agree with you, but go on, go on.
first of all, you're cutting out illegal activities. Second of all, you're controlling how much of it is in the market, and because this is now legal, you know what I'm saying? It makes people that like do need that, like are addicted to like that altercation in your state of mind, but would it makes people like adapt to this drug that's now legal instead of like going to other types of drugs that are more harmful and more destructive, you know what I'm saying? So like seeing that marijuana is like a I mean, it is a drug, but it's like not necessarily very harmful. As a drug addict, you would choose that path, knowing that it's legal and you won't have to like face the risks.
A drug addict.
Okay, so
As a
so
drug
wait,
addict,
hold up. But what's the
But you-
leading question? If we think it should be legal or not, or like, what's the
No,
what's
what
the exact
I'm
thing
saying
that
is
we're discussing?
this was a leading question to the original question, drug trafficking, right? We
Okay.
originally talked about drug trafficking, and it's illegal, right? We got people
Right.
dealing drugs. It we cannot
Trafficking
pretend
is
it's
illegal
trafficking is illegal. Yeah,
as
we
a whole.
cannot pretend.
Yeah. That's
We
right.
cannot pretend it's not there. Okay, it is. The government knows it's there. That's why it's illegal. What I'm saying is, we talked about marijuana, right? My original idea is that because everyone has the ability to, let's not say produce, but they can make drugs. You could let's say you could make, you could grow shrooms on your own, or you could grow weed on your own.
Okay,
What I'm
yeah.
saying is, you
Yeah,
have
but
the
maybe
ability.
making heroin is not that easy, you know.
Yeah,
But what we're
you
just saying
get my
drugs in
point
general.
though. If you really wanted to, you could get the facilities for that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We watch
the-
Breaking Bad.
So I taught. No, this is okay. I might have got the idea from there, but
Okay, so
listen.
you're
What I'm saying is, the government calls it drug trafficking and calls drugs illegal. Is it because they cannot tax it, or is there a deeper reason to why drugs should be illegal? Because right
What?
now,
Well, I
Okay,
think
Okay, no,
What is
it's
the
not.
mind?
If they can tax it if they wanted to. So if
And some of it
like,
is
the
taxed.
reason can't be because they can't tax it, because when it's legal they do tax it and will tax it and can tax it. So that's not a reason for why it's illegal. Also the saying like the saying that like I kind of disagree with like Alex said, is saying that like it alters your behavior and stuff in your mind or whatever, because alcohol does that as well and it's legal, right?
mm-hmm.
So that's not really-
Alcohol is
my
also
point.
counted
The
as a
thing is
drug.
that- What?
Alcohol
Yeah,
is
but it's
also
legal.
counted as a drug.
But it's
Yeah.
legal. Like,
okay,
that's what we're
if-
talking
if
about.
you-
We're talking
if
about
you
drug
look at it-
trafficking, which is
If you look at
Which
it,
is
what I'm
movement
saying is
of
around
illegal drugs.
around let's say 50, 60. I'm not sure about the exact time, but I read this. I'm pretty sure about it. There was a time where there was a period of time where alcohol was also illegal.
Yeah, there was.
Like,
That was only in the
certain-
US though.
certain
That was only in the
countries, sure.
US.
No, not only in the US, in the entire world. Like most countries, alcohol was prohibited. Like it was illegal. Like you weren't allowed to have booze on you. Like it was illegal. But now it's
Okay.
legal, and you have companies producing that. Like
Yeah.
many. And
Bro, I think if they make
When
it
was
illegal,
that?
it's mostly because of the harmful effects that it has, and if they make it legal, because the benefits of making it legal. But I think
there is no okay.
I mean, also,
okay. The
There are
benefits
benefits
to
to making it
alcohol.
legal.
There's
there
benefits
is
to
no
making it
benefits
legal
to
for
booze,
the
obviously.
public.
Besides
There
that,
is
the
a-
government can tax it. Like the taxes on like alcohol is higher than
Of
most
course,
other things.
but
There
there's
are
That's not the only
other
reason.
there are a
benefits.
lot
Like,
of benefits,
like,
man.
as a
I
whole
mean, like-
thing, it's
If there wasn't any benefits, people wouldn't be drinking alcohol. You know?
No, what?
Also
What?
because we
I'm not
What?
talking about that.
What?
Also because we don't.
I'm
we're
talking
not talking
about
about the usage of drugs. We're talking about the
Yeah, yeah.
legality of them.
Exactly.
yeah,
exactly.
The benefits is also it's taxed, it's security. It's way more secure to people if you don't buy from
Yeah,
a potential dangerous
Exactly.
s-
Yeah. Like the
scenario or
amount of
something,
like
you know?
laced stuff will
Yeah.
go down because
And
then
also because we live in a society where you are supposed to have fun, bro. We're not in a dictatorship. And if you're so restricted that you can't even buy alcohol, then like what is life at this point? You know what I'm saying?
what? No,
But
what?
we're not talking
What?
about that.
What?
man.
No, okay. First of all, a dictatorship
talking
doesn't
about
restrict
Yeah.
your
We
freedom.
need a small
okay?
recap. Okay, let's start
A
over. So we're
dictatorship
talking
doesn't
about.
restrict your freedom.
N-
Like,
Okay,
okay,
no,
look,
like a
look.
dictatorship
I mean, if you
generally,
talk about-
hold up.
controls your
Okay,
life.
look. Check this. Hold up. I don't want to get into this too deep, but look, a dictatorship doesn't restrict your freedom. It just means that one person has all the power, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that it's a
Dictatorship was
bad
a
thing.
wrong
Like
It
if you had
exactly
a
does
good
restrict your
person,
freedom.
if
You have to
if
do
you
what
have
the person says. If you have freedom,
I
you
feel
can
yeah,
like
but what
do
if you
whatever
just
this
you're
you
topic is
free to
have
do
to
talking
do
whatever
what
about
Yeah,
you
you
different
want.
want?
topics.
so
Man.
I agree
Then
with
you can
Nico.
do
I
whatever
agree
you
with
want.
Nico
Like
here. Yeah,
look,
that
look, this is what I'm getting
dictatorship
at.
is
This is what I'm
the right
getting at.
thing.
A
Yeah,
dictatorship doesn't
dictatorship
have
is
to be a bad thing. Because
exactly.
in a
That's true. That's true.
democracy,
Well,
for example, Obama wanted to do a lot of stuff that would have been beneficial for most of the American society, but he couldn't because the Senate allows the president says, "Yeah, we can do this," or "No, we're not going to do this." And at the time, the Senate was mostly Republican, and they didn't like Obama because partially he's black and partially he's Democratic, right? So they just
Mm.
ignore what he said. They just don't do what he says, right? So
Yeah.
even though he had some good ideas, he wasn't allowed to do it because it's a democracy, right?
No,
And
I
because
think
some of the
it's
people in
dependent on
democracy were
democracy
against
or
him. And so
Republican.
corruption of the
that's why I'm
government.
saying if it were a dictatorship, he could have done it. You know,
Yeah,
the
I agree.
Medicare that he created would be enacted, and it, you know, like it depends on the person. That's all I'm saying. So a dictatorship doesn't have to restrict your freedom, because
I
that's
mean,
only if it's, you know, like a bad one where
Yeah, but
where
that's
the
in
dictator
theory.
but
But
wants to restrict your
that's
freedom.
But
just in theory. Like
freedom to
like
choose
most
is
of the
also
dictators
part of your freedom.
are doing that. And you know, I don't even think it's about being like a Democratic or like Republican. It's about just that. Okay, we know that governments just want their benefit, like are mostly working for their benefit, but they have to pretend as if they're trying to help people and they want the good for people. So drugs are not good for people, and that's why probably they're just not making it legal. You know, okay, yes, marijuana is a drug, but it's not as bad as the others. First of all, you
Yep.
can overdose on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's okay.
no,
I'm gonna
the thing
stop
is,
this right there. Wait,
there's a
wait,
whole lot of other stuff
Nico. I
about
would
like
love to hear this, but
legality.
listen. Like
Hold
our
on.
podcast kind of
Nah,
came to an end.
nah,
Like
Amir.
no, our
No,
we're out of
nah,
time for
I ain't
this.
letting you do this. Hell no. Hell no.
Okay,
I'm
just go ahead.
strong arming the host. Fuck that.
Okay.
No. Okay, look. Okay, real quick. It has nothing to do with the health of it, right? It has nothing to do with if it's good for you or bad for you. Because for example, a lot of like the medication that they give people have a lot of side effects that might be worse than the actual thing they're supposed to treat,
Mhm.
right? So it has nothing to do with how healthy it is. You know, otherwise like fast food would be illegal because that shit's unhealthy. It gives people diabetes and stuff, people dying from it all the time.
you can't compare
Then
fast food
cigarettes would
to
be
a hit
illegal,
of
right?
dope.
So
You can't compare
so
fast
it's
food,
not
a
the
bad
same
burger
because a lot
to
of
like
people
injection of
talk
heroin. It's not the same thing, man.
what?
You can't compare a fucking bad burger to an injection of heroin. It's not the same thing.
No, but I'm just saying that they're both unhealthy.
Yeah,
I
no,
know
no.
I
there's
mean,
varying degrees of
In terms,
unhealthiness, but they're both
In terms,
unhealthy, right? And so
okay.
like when you make it legal, so first of all, people that want to do drugs, a lot of them, like the ones that do heroin, will do it if it's legal or not, right? The legality doesn't alter whether or not they do it, you know?
but I
So,
do
Yeah,
think there's some drugs that shouldn't be
y-
made legal, you know?
okay, no, but the
I
difference
also
is when you
agree.
make it legal, not only does the quality of it go up in terms, you know, like that, people can like work in it, you
Get
know,
the
there's a
US
profit to be made or
government
Yeah,
whatever,
heroin.
but also people that do it won't be seen as criminals, but will
Actually, I
more or
totally
less,
agree with
it's
this.
like people
Yeah.
that are addicted they'll be able to get help and
Yeah.
be able to
but
break their
it will give
addiction
an
versus than
impression,
just
and if
being
it's
sent
something
to jail.
normal, you
You
know,
get
but it
help.
isn't. It
Listen,
shouldn't be
listen,
something
listen.
normal.
As soon as anything turns legal and it's controlled by the government, I think, in my opinion, both the quality goes up, and also the government benefits on behalf. That's my opinion, obviously. I would love to hear more, but we're kind of have to wrap this up because we have reached
Man,
the end
this
of this
podcast
podcast.
finally got interesting,
Uh,
and you are ending the podcast on the interesting part of it. I just want you to know.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I have
So,
to
We kind of
because
went off
because
topic, right?
listen, next
Corruption of
week
the
is gonna
government.
listen next week. Yeah, the corruption. We obviously talked about 3 topics that are involved to the
are we gonna talk
corruption in
about this next
governments.
week?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a different topic next week. Trust me.
Is
It's
it
gonna
gonna
be
be drugs?
about. There are no
Sorry, I
drugs
forgot.
involved. It's gonna be about the
Hopefully Alex
pandemic.
is not here next week.
Hopefully
not.
till next week.
Listen,
Just
we're
don't
gonna
check
wrap it
your
up. I'm
mom's room.
gonna do a small
Hanging.
recap from what we talked
I've been
about.
here
We
3
basically
weeks.
talked about bribery, tax invasion, like what tax invasion is, the causes, why, and how we could possibly try to stop it. We also talked about drug trafficking, which is also another problem for like governments being corrupt. We talked about why like drugs are considered drugs, what are the causes, and how we can stop it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. Once again, it's Let's Get Sincere with your favorite host, Amir. Thank you guys.